Hey student, watch this video if you want to understand why translation is bad for you. Coming up. Hey friends, Teacher Prix here to help you talk to anyone, anywhere, anytime in English. First of all, thank you so much for joining me on another lesson. I hope you are enjoying the daily lessons I'm posting here for you guys. And if it's your first time here, hey, thank you for giving me an opportunity to teach you. I hope you can subscribe. From Monday to Friday, I post English lessons of all kinds. Grammar, vocabulary, listening tip, reading tip, vocabulary tip, phrasal verbs, expressions, advanced vocabulary, speaking tips, study tips, all kinds of lessons to help you become a better and more confident English speaker. So hey, subscribe! And if you are already part of this beautiful community of more than 82,000 subscribers, yes! Thank you so much for trusting me and for being part of this channel. You are part of this beautiful story. Anyways, my friends, today we are going to talk about a very important subject, translation. Yes, I'm going to be giving you 3 reasons why translation is not good for you. Now, I'm not an extremist. Okay, I understand that sometimes we need to translate. What I am going to talk about here is when students use translation as salvation, as the #1 choice, as part of their routine. That's what I'm going to be talking about in today's lesson. That's what we shouldn't do, and then I'm going to be explaining to you why that's a bad thing, okay? So let's get down to business. Why is translation bad for you? Do you think translation is bad? Let me know here in the chat if you are watching the live lesson. Hey, come on, let's participate in the chat. Talk to the other people watching. Say hello, say hi, and let me know if you think translation is bad and why, and we can carry on the discussion. Anyways, let's get down to business. The first reason why translating is bad for you is that you learn the exact meanings of the word, okay? And guys, we are learning a language. We are not learning how to fix a car, or we're not learning how to do a puzzle that it gives you an exact answer. There's nothing very exact about a language. Well, there are some exact translations, but what happens when you learn the exact meanings? You end up missing different ways to use that word. Because what happens to English and many other languages? One word has a possibility of translations, of different uses, of different possibilities that are difficult for us to translate in one way. And consequently, when you translate a word, the exact translation, your brain will focus on that translation and will not give you the possibility of exploring the other possibilities, the other possible variations and translations. For example, the verb to know. Many English learners only focus on one translation of the verb know, especially Latin people, Brazilian people. Hello, Brazilian people watching this video. This is something that happens. I have had many Brazilian clients, private students, who don't know all the other possibilities of the verb to know. And why is that? Probably when you were a beginner, you learned this translation. You learned one translation of the word know. What happened? With time, you were studying and learning, and you completely forgot to explore other translations. Now that you're getting more vocabulary, you are learning a little bit more, you come across a different translation, but your brain was so focused on the first translation that it's hard to accept the new translation. Ah, no, teacher, but I know the verb know. Okay, maybe you are good at the verb know, maybe you understood, but I'm not talking about one simple word. I'm talking about many different kinds of words that students usually have this problem with. And I'm talking about this based on experience. I have had clients from all over the world. Clients in Europe, clients in the United States, immigrants living in the United States, clients from Japan, South Korea, Arabic countries. So the problem is the same. We focus so much on learning the exact translations, and the consequence of that is that, okay, our brain focuses on that exact translation, and you miss all the other variations, all the other possibilities. Okay? What do you think? Do you agree with me? And it's okay if you don't agree. Let me know in the comments, okay? I love when you guys participate and debate and ask me questions and let me know your point of view. So this is really good, okay? So share it out. Now, if you enjoyed this kind of lesson and you want to watch more lessons like this one, make sure to hit the like button. I know I ask that every day. It's important because then I understand that this is something that you enjoy learning more about and that you want to see more videos like this one. So hit the like button. If you have already hit the like button, thank you very much, my friend. So share the love. Share this lesson with a friend because there are many people out there who need to watch this lesson. There are many people like you who are trying to improve their English, okay? Awesome, moving on. Now, the reason number 2 why translation is bad for you is you don't necessarily learn how to use that word. You know, it's interesting. I'm learning a new language and I'm studying vocabulary. I'm beginner. I'm not going to say which language I'm learning. Ha ha ha, it's a secret. At the right time, I'll tell you. Well, actually, when I'm speaking that language, then I'll tell you, because until then, I'm not going to tell you. And it's interesting because there are many moments when I feel very tempted to just know the translation. But I know that if I do that, I'm going to learn one translation and I'm not really going to learn how to use that word. So I am training myself to stay committed to what I teach you guys. And what do I mean by you don't necessarily learn how to use that word? This is another experience of mine, okay? As I said, I am a private teacher. I give lessons. I've been giving lessons for people for a really long time. And one thing I notice is that when people translate a word, they write the translation and that's it. Game over. Move on. All right, now I know this word. Awesome. And then you close the notebook and you move on with your life. And did you really learn that word? Now, what is to learn a word? For me, to learn a word is when you understand that word to the point that you can use it. So if you can use that word, if you can create examples with that word, then you have truly learned and mastered that word. Otherwise, my friends, that was just translation. You just wrote it down. Okay, so that's the reason why translation is bad for you. Another reason why translation is bad for you, because writing down the translation of words and even phrases, okay, will not really help you master that word. Okay, so the translation of the word gives you the false illusion that you know that word, but you know it in your language. Okay, you may know it in your language, you got the translation, yay! But do you know how to really use it in English? So this is a problem that many intermediate speakers come across, basic speakers too. But I think this gets worse when you reach an intermediate level, because now you're learning all these crazy words, these expressions, but you don't know how to put them into practice because you are so accustomed to translating that word or that expression. This works for expressions and phrases too. That's all you know. You don't really know how to put into practice. For example, with the language that I'm studying right now, when I see a new word, I try to create an example, okay? Even if it's a very short phrase, I try to create an example. Or if it's a very difficult word for me to create an example and I really need to remember this word, I write something, even in my own language, I write something that will help me remember, a reference, and then I create a short example, or I get an example from the internet and I write something down that will help me remember. Now, does that take work? Yes, it takes work, but it's done. It can be done. I did this in English too. I'm doing this now in this other language. I did this when I learned Spanish, and that's how you truly master a language, okay? So do you do this sometimes? Do you have a lot of lists of words and the translation next to it, and you don't really know how to use it? You never stopped to think of how to create examples with those words? Let me know. I would love to know if that happens to you. That has happened to me. Sometimes we forget to create examples to really study and we just write the translation because it's convenient. Okay? Translation, guys. Why do we translate so much? Because translation is convenient. Translating is comfortable. It's easy, and it gives that false sensation of comfort that now we understand. Oh, that's the translation. Okay, now I understand. But the language is not just about understanding, it's about communicating. Okay, I know both things are connected, but if you only do that in your study routine, again, you are giving yourself a false illusion that you are learning. You're learning translations of words in your language, but when you speak English, you don't use your language, you use English. Okay? Now, this takes time, and I'm going to talk about this. Awesome. Next thing. Now, another thing that happens here. In the real world, there are no exact translations, okay? Now, a language is about interpretation, okay? We may have if you find dictionaries that translate, they may give you exact translations. But when you are communicating in the real world, there is no such thing as an exact translation. You don't have time to do that when you are communicating. So when you translate a sentence in English, you may understand it in your language, but then when it's time to use it, you will not remember the translated phrases, the translated words. You will not remember the translations. That's why I say that it's important to understand. You will only remember what you truly understand. And that's the catch. I know that it seems like the reason number 3 is a repetition of the other two, but this is very serious. You will not remember the translation of sentences if you don't understand how to use that in English. That's why it's so important to understand how to use that in English. And translation doesn't do that for you. Translation doesn't help you understand how to use the word. It just gives you the satisfaction of knowing the real exact translation of that word in your language. But in the real world, you don't need the exact translations. You need communication. You need interpretation. You need to know the situation. You need to understand the different possibilities and variations. So you will only remember what you truly understand in English. That's why, for example, I'm always trying to learn different vocabulary in English, different expressions and phrasal verbs. And I always pay attention to how I am doing. Do I really understand those words? Do I really know how to use them? And I know that I really know the word if I can use it. If I do not use that word, if it's difficult for me to give an example, then I know that I still need to study that word. I need to get more examples. I need to get more explanations because I have not really comprehended the true meaning of that word. So that's how I know when I still need to do more work because I'm still not comfortable to create examples. So for example, the phrasal verbs that I always share with you guys, they are all phrasal verbs that I have mastered, that I know. right away how to create a crazy example. If it were a phrasal verb that I wouldn't know how to think of ways to use, I wouldn't talk about them. So I think it's important that you understand that, and during your study routine, you find a way to analyze if you are truly making progress or if you are just making your list of words bigger. Okay. Alexandre says, not to say that there are English words that just don't exist in our native language. Exactly. There are some words that come from English that don't exist in our language, that don't make any sense, actually, that if we translate, we're like, what? What is that? So that's why translation is so dangerous, okay? Someone says, what do you think of learning English with a native teacher? I think it's not about being a native teacher. I think it's about being a competent teacher, okay? It's not about, oh, he's American, oh, she's Australian, oh, now I'm going to learn. No, it depends on you. Now, there are some perks of having a native English teacher, but at the end of the day, that teacher needs to be competent. That teacher needs to have a good methodology, good strategies, good communication skills, because that's what matters at the end of the day, okay? Now, guys, important question. That's why, well, I forgot to say that. That's why translation is bad for you. Well, I'm already talking about translation being bad for you. Now, as an English learner, I wanted to say that, I wanted to emphasize that. It's important that you spend time working on understanding phrases rather than translating them, okay? So there is a difference between translating a phrase and understanding what the phrase is. And understanding a phrase takes more time than just translating. That's why I said that translation is easy, translation is convenient, okay? Because when we have to truly understand, it takes a little bit more time. We have to analyze, we have to go online, look up on dictionaries, find more words, find more examples, maybe Google, maybe use YouTube and find teachers talking about it. So translating is convenient, and here as an English learner, it's important that you understand that you need to dedicate some time to understanding the sentences rather than just translating them. Okay, I have seen so many people sitting down and doing translating exercises, translating songs. Oh my God, don't translate songs. That drives me crazy. Oh my goodness. Now, guys, can I use translation sometimes? Because, okay, teacher, you are describing the perfect world. In the perfect world, we don't translate anything. That's not what I said, okay? What I'm explaining here is, if you are following, if studying English for you consists of translating everything, like if it's part of your routine, then no. Okay, but you can do a little tiny translation as long as it doesn't become a habit or an addiction. Like, you need to know the translation or you won't understand. Teacher, please tell me the translation of this word, otherwise I can't use it. No, if that's your attitude, then we have a problem, okay? If you, when you learn a new word, the first response you have is translate, then it's a problem. When you see something in a movie and your first reaction is go to Google Translator and get the translation, then we have a problem. When you're watching a movie, when you're listening to a song and you see a phrase and you go and you translate, then we have a problem. Now, translation can be a strategic tool, okay? The key here, what I'm trying to say, my biggest message is you have to understand the words in English and looking up explanations, and if necessary, the translations. So the idea is focus on finding explanations, focus on finding examples, and if necessary, if you really need, then you can find the translation if necessary. And one thing that I always recommend my private students: never look up translations of complete sentences. No. And this works the other way around. Let's say there is a phrase that you know in Portuguese and you want to learn in English and you want to translate all that phrase. Absolutely not. Do not do this, okay? Try You have to build the structure. Try making the structure and only look up the words that you really don't know, because this is another habit that English learners have that that makes them lazy. Okay, that makes them like too comfortable in their study process, in their journey. So if there is a phrase in Portuguese or in Spanish or in French or in Japanese or in Italian that you want to know in English, never go and translate that entire sentence. Use your brain. Try to write the phrase, and if necessary, find a verb that you don't know or an adjective that you don't know, but work to create the structure. Okay, this is also something that I always recommend my students to do. And you are my student. You are here on my channel. And hey, remember to subscribe, because one thing that I always tell you guys, and it's not lie, okay? It's not a lie. Most people who watch my videos are not subscribed. It's more than 50%. They like my videos, they share my videos, they participate, and they are not subscribed. So by subscribing to my channel, you really help me grow, you help my channel grow, but not just that, you help YouTube understand that my videos are good, and then YouTube will share my videos with other people like you. So by subscribing, you really help the community of English learners. Look at that. So by being part of this, you help other people. Okay, and you help yourself, because you will receive all the notifications and everything I have to share with you guys. Okay, now my friends, I have homework. Remember, you have to come here in the comments and participate, because I really like when you guys participate. It makes me happy. I'm not gonna lie, it's difficult for me to reply all comments, but I read all of them because they give me inspiration to create more videos. Okay, so I want to know in the comments what kind of words you find difficult to study and learn in English. Our phrasal verbs, idioms, expressions, let's see what else, adjectives, nouns, adverbs. What are words for you that are difficult for you to understand and to study in English, okay? Let me know in the comments. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's lesson. Share it with your friends, share the love, and other than that, I will see you tomorrow for another English lesson. Bye bye.